and thank you for tuning in to another episode of What Would Helen Say, where therapy time is anytime. In this week's episode, what kind of mother are you? We explore the dynamics between my client and her mother, and then my client and her daughter. We really get into the details of how she feels ready to set limits in the relationship with her mother, but also what are some of her hesitations and drawbacks to actually setting those limits. We then take those dynamics and see how my client is doing with breaking those generational patterns of mother and daughter. If you like the work that I'm doing and you would like to support me, or if you're interested in gaining premium access to upcoming episodes and detailed notes about how you can apply these interventions to your own life, then please click on the Patreon link below for more information. Thank you.
How are you doing this week?
I'm okay. I'm okay.
All right. So, where we left off last week, you had three big conversations that were looming. So, did any of those conversations take place?
I only had one.
Okay, one's good.
Yes. I had the conversation with my friend about her child.
Okay, how did things go?
Um, Surprisingly good.
All right.
When I mentioned it to her, I was trying to, just like ask questions, like you mentioned. Um, but then she had to go, so we couldn't talk on the phone anymore. I think she was still working. But she started texting me, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I told her, I tried to bring up something when we was on the phone, but, it's, like, basically, like, weighing heavy on me. And, I just want to have a conversation. She was open to the conversation. And then she told me, well, honestly, I do notice that, there's a difference, which is why I don't come to your house.
Oh.
So I'm like, and I found it strange a little bit, but I just figured that, we're both busy. But she literally lives like less than 15 minutes from me. And she's like, yeah, I noticed the difference between them, and I feel that, your daughter is more advanced, so I try to keep him away. And I'm like, no, like, don't ever feel like that.
Right. But even for her son, it's better for him to be around other kids so he can learn.
That's what I said. These kids are not embarrassed. I'm like, it's the parents that are embarrassed and make them feel embarrassed. I'm like, you shouldn't ever feel like that. But she's like, yeah, I get a lot of embarrassment, I guess from like other family members on her end or whatever. But she was able to have a conversation with his father again. The father at first, when she told him about this like months ago, he's like, oh, he'll grow out of it. He'll be fine. But I'm gonna say it's because we went on vacation and the father had him and he had to sit with him for days, is where he started to see it. And now he, basically got a taste of what she experiences daily. So while we were texting, she, I guess, told him, called him or whatever, and he agreed that, well, the first step would be going to see a speech specialist or something. So I was like, okay, that's definitely a big step.
Good. Very good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes, I felt so good. I was like, yay. Because I told her, I'm like, I was so nervous to even say it to her. So I'm like, I know, like, she's already a sensitive person, but I know about your child, you're going to be extra, extra sensitive. So I get it completely. And I'm like, I know, I'm like, even if you don't want to text me back, like, it's perfectly fine. Like, I get it if you need time. But, it took her a while, but then she definitely responded to me and basically confirmed everything that I was already saying to her.
Good. I'm so happy it went well.
Yes, me too. I kept saying, like, oh, please, please do not let her be mad, please. So I'll probably check in with her probably tomorrow. So I think that's when I reached out to her. It was like a week ago. So I'll probably reach out to her tomorrow to see if she need like any help or setting up any appointments and stuff.
Okay, awesome. So yay, one down.
The other one with the other friend, I haven't really spoken to her since we left the trip.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, this is different, but I don't really. It's like, okay.
So is it kind of like let sleeping dogs lie? You know, if she's not going to bother you, you're not going to bother her.
Kind of, I guess. I did reach out to her, like, I texted her a few days ago to ask her if she wanted to go to a concert that we were all planning. I'm just like, I'll just extend the invitation, but, like, I'm still going to go.
Okay.
Just wanted to extend it, but that's pretty much about it. I don't know if she's like sensing something as well, or if there's not anything, like going on, because I told you most of the conversations are like attracted to something negative or something, drama filled and everything. So I don't know if there's just nothing, like no drama happening, so she has no reason to call, and I'm okay with that. Like, it does not bother me. I'm okay.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the really big one is going to be your mom.
That one, I am still trying to figure this out. I got a call from someone earlier who said that my mom came to their job. I'm sure it's at a store, but my mom came there specifically to talk about me. Yeah, I guess she wanted this person to talk to me or something, and yeah. And I'm just like, and the person, like me and her had already had a conversation about this, but I kept it very brief and vague or whatever. And she was like, I was listening to her, but I'm just like, oh, wow, that's crazy. Like, she's like, I'm not giving it any attention because what am I supposed to do? Like, that's between y'all. I don't get in the middle of that. And she like, this happens every time that something is going on with y'all. She makes it almost like her business to make sure that she runs into me to tell me about what's going on between y'all.
Mm.
And then she brought up my sister as well because they're having their own separate issue. I'm like, that has nothing to do with me. I don't know about that. I don't care about it. And she was like, yeah, if you don't care and that's your sister, why would I care? Like, she's like, y'all cool and all, but that got nothing to do with me.
Right.
Yeah. So she's like, oh, like, I don't know what her problem is. I was only playing on the phone when she cursed me out and hung up. I said, I did not curse her out. I literally gave her 2 warnings and told her to stop doing something and she didn't do it. And I said, okay, bye. Then I hung up the phone. I didn't curse her out. I wouldn't do that. And then she was like, well, I know already because you already told me. I'm definitely going to take your word before I take hers anyway. And then she's like, oh, and then I sent her a text on Mother's Day and she didn't text me back until midnight. I'm like, okay. I was in a completely different state, trying to make it back home to my own kids. Got stuck at the airport for 3 hours because there were no rides home.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, my fiance and the kids had to literally come. He woke the kids up. It was like 2:00 in the morning just to come and get me from the airport. There were no taxis, no Ubers, nothing. We were stuck.
That's
I'm not worried about
crazy.
texting anybody.
Right.
I'm worried about getting home. Like, I didn't care about that. And then I'm like, if I did text you back at midnight, I don't know what time it was, but I do remember in the text message I said I had just landed because we were on the plane. I'm not texting you on the plane. I'm worried about getting home. It was Mother's Day for me too. Like, I'm a mother. I didn't enjoy Mother's Day. I was flying back home on Mother's Day to make it back. I thought I was going to have plans, but no. The first flight was canceled. The second one was delayed a whole hour. And then to make it home finally, well, almost home, and to be stuck at the airport, like, I'm not worried about texting anyone for Mother's Day. I tried to respond to everyone that reached out to me. If it was too late, like, I'm sorry, but I did respond.
It's what you could do.
Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, at this point, you're just finding every little thing just to say, like, almost like she wants to, like, plead her case a little bit.
She wants to paint you in the worst possible light so more people will go over to her side.
And I told the lady that I'm like, this happens all the time. Anytime something goes on, it's like she almost like, oh, let me hurry up and say something to these people. And it's just like at this point, I really don't care. Like it cannot bother me anymore. Like I used to be so upset and just be like, you know what, just going off. And I heard that earlier. I'm just like, okay. We laughed about it and moved on to the next subject because that's how much I'm not in a space to care anymore. And you don't realize that you're making it worse.
Mm-mm.
And then I'm like, her issue with my sister, you caused that on yourself. That girl I don't know. You caused that on yourself. Worried about the wrong things. And ever since we were kids, like my grandparents, whoever, like anybody will always tell her, like, you're focused too much on this kid. The other one is going to be the one because you're not paying her any attention. You worried about this one always messing up or trying to find ways that I'm messing up or whatever the case. But you're focusing too much on me and you don't even realize what's going on right in front of your face with the other one.
Right.
So now it's like everything that you thought I was doing wrong or anything you accuse me, that's what she's doing.
Mm.
So everything's coming back to you tenfold. And you don't like it. You don't know how to deal with it. And I kind of like, I said this to my fiance and he laughed. And I'm just like, I'm serious, but it's like, you already messed up with one kid. You had a second chance and you messing up with that one too. So are you not seeing a pattern here? It can't be just both of us decide to wake up and was like, you know what, let's just rebel today. That's not how it happened.
Right. You would hope that she sees that she's the common denominator and therefore maybe she
No,
should change something that she's doing.
she texted one of my cousins, the one who I told you, she's going through her own things. That's the one who mom passed away. She doesn't have her dad and all of that. She said to her, like, oh, I don't know why my girls like to treat me like I'm a deadbeat. I'm like, who even said that? Who said that? Like, what are you talking about? No one ever said that. That's how you feel, but no one ever said that. There's a lot that I can say, but I just choose not to because I don't want to intentionally hurt your feelings.
I get that. But what I've learned is people make assumptions according to their own insecurities.
Hmm.
So that's her insecurity that she feels like she's been a deadbeat parent.
Yeah, yeah. Like, there's nothing more that I can do to you or say to you that you're not already seeing for yourself. You're already living the life that you deserve because you don't know how to be honest and you don't want to be like held accountable for anything.
Mhm.
So that's what makes me at some point feel like, is the conversation even really necessary? Because I feel like you're already being dealt with other things.
I hear you. And I'll come back to the same thing I told you before. The conversation's for you.
Right.
It's if you feel like these are things you need to say, you need to advocate for you, you need to advocate for your kids, whatever it may be. It's about you. It's not about getting her to change.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like, I know she's not going to change. Um, there's definitely, I don't know. I don't want it to be like, oh, well, we're not speaking. So now she want to basically like say all of this to me. And it's just like, no, that's not the case here.
Only you can decide when's the right time to have this conversation and if you still want to have it.
I do. I just don't know when.
Okay, so it's okay to wait.
Okay. Because I felt so much pressure. I'm like, I gotta say it, I gotta say it. But then, like, I don't even know when I want to bring it up or how or anything.
And that's okay. At the end of the day, I want you to listen to you. I mean, I'm here, I'm giving you tools, I'm giving you advice, different things that you can use. But the biggest thing is you figure out what really works for you. You
Mm-hmm.
do it your way in your time because you have to live with the repercussions, not me.
Right. Yep. I'll figure it out one day.
Okay, that is okay.
I'll really figure it out. Then I was thinking like, I don't know if it would be helpful that me and her need to start like doing our sessions elsewhere, but I don't even know how I would even get her to do that.
Okay, I mean, that's a big if.
Right. I feel like I mentioned it to her in the past, but I didn't. Obviously, she didn't take me serious, but I still I don't see it going in a positive way, only because I don't know what it is. Like she has like magic powers or something. She can literally like trick anyone into thinking that I'm like I don't know, like this horrible person, and she's such the victim. And it's just like I just want I don't understand. Like, what is it going to take for someone to really, really see it for what it is? You know what I mean?
No, I hear you. If she wanted to like join in a session or two, with you, with us,
Mm-mm,
oh, okay.
mm-mm, mm-mm.
Okay. That's perfectly fine.
This is my happy place. No, 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 no. Stay away.
Okay, so she does not get to intrude. I'm perfectly okay with that. So, but keep in mind, because me being on this side of the desk, couch, whatever you want to call it, we only know what people tell us.
Right.
So she's going to go out to some professional, and it's natural for people to paint themselves in the best light possible.
Right.
And she already has a pattern of making
Mm-hmm.
herself out to be the victim. So
Yeah.
it's not going to magically get better if she goes to a therapist or anyone else. She's going to tell them the same victimized story she's been telling everybody else.
Yeah.
So, on this side of things, this is someone we're talking to once a week, probably for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take a long time to finally see, wait, hold on a minute.
Right. That's my thing. Like I've witnessed her do this with other family members. I witnessed her do this like guidance counselors, teachers, like and it will always be like, oh, she'll go and grab a teacher. There's one teacher specifically. I loved him. He's really, really super cool. I still speak to him to this very day. He's my teacher, probably I want to say 6th or 7th grade. Still speak to him. Um, but randomly, she just went to him and started telling him stuff. Like I think I had gotten to high school, and there was this boy that I was dating, but I immediately stopped dating him. But he was like super delusional, telling people that we were still together. It was just a hot mess. And she just wouldn't let that go. So that's where our relationship really, really went sour. And she immediately ran to that teacher. And I'm just like, if all people like, yeah, we're cool and whatnot, but like, why go to him? Why tell him those things that he didn't even really need to know? And then immediately, because she had already painted this picture, like, I'm number one mom and I'm on top of my kids and, don't play with me, like that kind of thing. In their mind, they're like, oh, your mother's doing all of these nice things for you. She's putting you through school and this and that and this and that. And this is basically how you repay her. I'm like, what? So she had already went in crying to him. So by the time that I even spoke to him, he was just like, like, I'm disappointed. And I'm just like, I don't care.
Okay. So that type of behavior that your mom engaged in, unfortunately, it's a very typical behavior that manipulators and abusers engage in,
Mm-hmm.
is to cut you off from anybody that is a positive support, anybody who is going to believe you, take your side, anything that could potentially build you up.
Right.
So they go in and they discredit you. And
Mm-hmm.
they say, no, they're not as great as you think they are, and they're this and they're that, and this, that, and the other. And they get this person to join the battering side
Mm-hmm.
that she's on. So that's a very, very typical abuser, manipulator type of behavior that, like, that's big red flags. I was like, oh,
Right.
no,
Right.
no.
When does it end? Well, I'm pretty sure it never won't. Well, it never will. But I just don't like how, like, even with the situation, like the guy from high school, how she tries to use that to say, like, he's the reason why our relationship is the way that it is. And I'm like, no,
Mhm.
he's not the reason why. When you, like, blacked my eye back in third or fourth grade, that was the reason why. This has nothing to do with him.
Right.
I can agree. That has nothing to do. And when I say things like that, she thinks that, oh, you're trying to defend him. And it was just crazy. That's the way that I can describe it. That relationship, the time, like, everything was just insane. It was insane.
Okay.
And still to this day, she holds that relationship over my head. This is like 20 relationships ago. Not 20, but still, like, it's been, that was like
Oh, right.
2009 or 2010, something like that.
But it's an extension of her refusal to accept responsibility for any of her own behavior. She
Mm-hmm.
has to latch on to somebody else is at fault here. It can't be me.
Yeah. I think probably a few months ago, I had told her that it's just like she wanted to, I guess, congratulate me or tell me how happy she was for the engagement and stuff like that. And this was months after the engagement, by the way. But she's like, oh, I'm happy for you and blah, 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 because, you came a long way and he's completely different from the high school guy. And I'm like, stop bringing him up. It bothers me. Like, why are you talking about him? And it's like beforehand, if I would say something like that, she's like, oh, well, you just getting mad because you must still be with him. No, we're not together. We have not been together forever. That was the most traumatic relationship of my life. And yet you use that to, like, throw it in my face constantly. Almost like you want me to be reminded of a relationship that I hated. A
She
guy
wants
that I literally, no.
she wants you to feel less than. Because if you see yourself as less than, you're not a threat to her. You're not going to challenge her. You're going to stay in your place and be like, oh, okay, yeah,
Right.
fine. That's what she wants out of you. And that's why these behaviors are happening to constantly beat you down and beat you down and beat you down.
That's what I said that too. Like earlier, I was thinking, like, I think because I'm not, like, in the same household as her and I just don't answer my phone sometimes, it's harder for her to, like, abuse me the way that she used to. So any sense of happiness that I would get, she has to find a way to still drag it back down, only because she can't do it how she used to.
Hmm.
And normally I'm just super quiet and I don't say anything when she brings him up. I just, I'm just like, oh boy. And it's just like, we move on to the next topic, or I just don't say anything at all. But it's like, At that point, we're talking about the wedding, we're talking about my wedding dress, we're talking about decorations, and then you talk about him. Like, he's not coming to the wedding. I don't care.
But it's just anything to steal your joy, your happiness, your anything in that moment. Just like,
Right.
oh, you can't have this.
Right. And in the same breath, she'll say, like, oh, no, like, you don't tell me anything. And it's like, this is why. Because you either find a way to make it negative, or anything that I tell you in private ends up being everybody else's business. So you're untrustworthy as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Like, that's just terrible. Because I mean, what I'm sitting with and how I'm kind of taking all of this in is like the way she treats you is like she doesn't believe you deserve happiness.
Right. But on the outside, it will not like appear that way. Like, if anybody else to see it, if you did not know me, anything that I was saying, and if you saw us outside, you would think like, oh, she's the best mom. Like, if someone was to, I don't know, say like, oh, I wanted to fight you, she'll make sure she jump on that person. Like, oh yeah, no, that's not, you're not gonna do that to her. That's my baby. Blah 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 blah. But then when we go in the house, she's the same one that's jumping on me. So it's just like, to the outside, everyone will swear like, your mother is a rider for you. She love y'all. That can be true, but y'all don't know the lady that's on the inside. Like, y'all don't know her.
Right.
And it's never my job to really, like, I don't even tell people about the things that she's done in the past. Or it's like, if you were there and you know about it, then you know about it. But other than that, I'm never going to go out and say like, oh, she's a horrible person. She beat me. She did this. She did that. Like, I don't tell people that.
Right.
I let people see it for themselves. And in due time, anyone that needed to see it for themselves, they saw it. And for the rest of them, I'm just like, oh, well.
Then they're not people for you. You don't need them in your life.
I'm just like, okay, that's fine. You think that I'm the devil because that's what she says? Okay. It don't bother me.
Well, I'm glad it's not bothering you.
I feel like I've heard it for so long that I've almost like, I'm like numb to whatever. Like, I don't care.
Right. It's
Just
just,
like that whole relationship. Like, just leave that out of it. I don't care. You say whatever you want, but just don't bring that up. And she knows that that's something that gets on my nerves. You know how triggering it is. So why? There's tons of relationships that I can bring up that she had, but I don't do that because why? It's pointless.
right. But she wants some sort of reaction out of you, and that's the only thing she knows that'll get it.
Not anymore. But yeah, she was gonna go into detail about it or something, and I was just like, yeah, can you stop? And she like, stop what? I'm like, stop bringing him up. Like, I don't want to hear his name. I don't like him. He don't like me. Let's just leave it alone. She was like, oh wow. Okay, I guess. Yeah.
Right? But in all reality, like, part of what you just said is your power in this situation. Your power is not to give her the reaction that she wants. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
even if you want to scream at the top of your lungs and you want to yell and break stuff, you don't give it to her.
Right. That's what I feel that I've always done. And that's what I will say. Like, because she used to try to silence me so much that even as I got older and she tried to like say things to get on my nerves or, to get me mad, I would just literally just sit there and look at her. And that made her even more mad. Like, even down to, she has a best friend. Her best friend is cool. But she calls me too cool because she's like, no matter what, you just sit there so cool. I've never seen somebody so cool like you. And I'm just like, because what you want me to do? Whether I get mad, whether I'm sad, whether I say nothing, her reaction is always going to be the same.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, maybe, when I was younger, like, yeah, I'll go cry to myself or whatever, but I'm not doing that in front of you because that's what you want.
Good for you for figuring that out at a young age.
I had to, yeah, because then it's like she always had this thing where, oh, you're mad, it must be true. No, it's not true. I'm just irritated that you're irritating me. So, yeah.
Okay. So, like I said before, when you feel like it's time to say something, you will know without a doubt. You won't have to question it. And it might just come out before you even realize you actually said it. You're like, oh,
Right.
wait.
Yeah. I'm hoping for one of those moments where it just like naturally comes out and it's not like forced out.
No, I mean, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but part of this process is the more you think about this, the more you think about what it is you want to say and how you want to advocate for yourself and stand up for yourself and set limits or whatever it is, the more you think about it, the more you get used to it and comfortable with the thought of acting on it. And then when you are finally ready, you'll just act on it. It
Okay.
doesn't have to be planned out and say, okay, on this
Mhm.
day, at this time, this is what I'm saying.
Right.
Everything about you will be ready and it'll just come.
I'll just keep waiting.
And that's okay. Okay. So, anything else been going on this past week?
Um, I don't think so. No, honestly, no, not anything else. Um, nope.
Okay. So, I'm going to revisit something from, earlier sessions. I remember when we first started parenting was one of the things that you brought up in terms of you want to be the best parent that you can be, and there's certain things that you just don't want to engage in. How do you think you're doing with that right now?
Um, now I think that I'm not. I know that I'm a lot more patient. Like I understand. They're small, especially the 3 year olds. She's still technically, a baby. I still call her baby, but um, I try to think about things like from her perspective a little bit. And it's just like most of the things that I'm like so irritated with that she does is just like I get that she's kind of still like learning like what things are. Or even in the kitchen sometimes. I'm actually looking at the mess right now. Um she wanted to do like ice cream sundaes or whatever. There's sprinkles literally all over my floor. And I'm just like, okay, I get it. Now I'm thinking to myself, like, I just gotta find a better way for her to pour out sprinkles that it doesn't just go all over the floor. But it's just like little things like that, she enjoys doing things. She likes to cook, she likes to paint, she likes to draw, like she loves a lot of like things that are hands on. So now I just have to, I guess, just deal with it and like, help her out and engage with her. And she teaches me a lot too. Like I don't realize the things that I say to her sometimes, and it's like when she repeats it back to me, I'm like, okay, well, I'm doing okay. I was talking about what did I say? About losing weight. I was saying it to my fiance, and I didn't even know she was listening to me. And she just was like, "It's okay, mom. Don't give up. You got this." And I was like, You know what? You're right, girl. You are so right. She's like, it's okay. Take a deep breath and count to 10 in your room. And I'm like, and I just told this girl this earlier. Like, so that's been our thing. Like, I'm like, okay, you need a moment. Go in your room, take a deep breath, count to 10. And when she said it back to me, I'm like, you know what? This is working. And she said it so calm. She wasn't yelling. And I'm like, I'm doing a good job.
Yes, you are. Again, pat yourself on the back. You did it.
Yeah, it was just like, I guess it felt good, like to hear her say those type of things. Because sometimes I don't realize that she's actually listening, to what I'm saying. Even when I'll tell her something, she'll go back and repeat it and do it all over again, like with the sprinkles. I told her not to do it earlier. I cleaned up one time. She went back and did it anyway. So like little things like that where I don't think that she's paying attention, like she really is.
Absolutely. Like kids understand a lot.
Yes, and I'm starting to notice that. I'm just like, you're like a little human. Like, how do you know all of these things? Like, how do you know like what to say and when to say it? Like that still trips me out sometimes. Like I know that you know how to talk, but it's like for you to actually like comprehend the things that are happening in the conversation, that part really trips me out each time.
So, my experience is kids are hardwired for survival.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as they're born, and you see it throughout the animal kingdom, because so many animals are born and they're just on their own. So,
Right.
kids are hardwired for survival. So, part of them surviving is tuning in to those emotional nuances of conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Kids will notice those what do I want to call them? Like aura shifts,
Mm-hmm.
those unseen type of dynamics. They will notice them long before adults do. They'll
Yeah.
notice the changes in tones. They'll notice the changes in behavior, your mannerisms and things like that. They will notice them like that. They may not always be able to describe them and
Mm-hmm.
tell you exactly what they know and why they know it or how they know it,
Right. Yeah.
but they pick up on those shifts and they're very good at tuning into, oh, this type of feeling goes along with these types of words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They
It's so funny that you say that. Yeah, I just said that because she yelled at the baby, and I was like, "You got some nerve." And I forgot what the baby was doing. She's like, "You better stop that right now, girl." And I'm like, "That is me. That is me." So now when she does stuff like that, I'm like, I gotta check myself. So like, she really is teaching me a lot, and I'm just like, oh god. Sometimes I'm like, please, girl, just stop. She actually just got in trouble earlier for going on the balcony by herself.
oh,
Yeah, and I'm just like, I noticed it got really bright in the living room, and I'm working. I was doing training. She usually sits out here. She's playing with her toys. I have the couch set up to where, like, from my room, I can look into the hallway mirror and I can see on the couch where she normally is, like in this area at least. There, and I'm like, it's really bright out there. I know I don't have the windows open like that. So I come out and she's running back in here. I guess because she heard me calling her name. She's running back into the living room. I'm like, what are you doing out there? She's like, oh, just having brunch, relaxing. I said, excuse me? She literally has, because we have like the patio set up with two chairs and a table. This girl has a jump rope, her bubbles, and her plate of food just out there chilling.
all right.
I'm like, I know these people are probably looking at me like, girl. Like, I'm like, what is wrong with you? She said, it's just such a beautiful day, Mom. I said, okay. But you can't go out there by yourself. You need an adult with you. And she's like, oh, are you an adult? She said, is mom an adult? Is dad an adult? I'm like, yeah. It's like, okay, then I'll ask Dad. I'm like, okay. But it's like little things like that. And it's like sometimes, like on my off days, I literally go out there and I have my breakfast and everything sitting right there. I'm just like, this girl is just so smart. It kills me. And I always say when I go out there, like, oh, it's so nice outside, so beautiful out here today. And that's exactly what she said to me. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yep, they are listening, and whatever you tell them, it will come back to you.
Yes. Yes. It's like, oh goodness, girl. But yeah, she definitely is teaching me a lot. Now that I'm like starting to think about things before I respond to her. But yeah, definitely still working on it, but it's gotten a lot better for sure.
Good, I'm glad to hear it. I mean, this is parenting. This is a constant work in progress.
Yes. Yes.
The minute you think you've arrived somewhere, they change everything up.
Mm-hmm.
Start over again.
Right. Like I could have sworn, we was on the same page, girl, and then she just do something different. I'm just like, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but as long as you stay in the space where you are willing to adapt, you're willing to learn from her as to what she needs, where she's at, those types of things, you guys will do fine.
Yes. Thank you.
You're
That
welcome.
girl's a trip.
Write some of these things down because over time you'll forget. And then you'll want to
Hmm.
remember it and be like, oh man, what was it?
Yeah, like sometimes when she do things, I'll try to get a picture, and her father was like stop taking a picture, just make her stop doing it. I'm like, no, I need to show her this later. She'll be all messed up. She had food coloring all over her one day. And he's like, so you just gonna look at her and take a picture instead of helping her clean her up? I'm like, yeah, I'll clean her up later.
But we need to remember this right here.
Yeah, that girl, man.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah. What thought she got up?
Anything else going on?
Um, I don't think so. Uh-uh. Oh, I ended up. I still have not written in my journal yet, but I got another book. It's from Target. I thought it was pretty dope. A Thousand Things You Don't Know About Me.
Ooh, I think I saw
Yeah,
that from somebody else.
yeah, and it has like little prompts inside, like just to answer. Found this to be pretty dope. And now my fiance like, oh, why didn't you get me one? It's like I wanted this to myself, but he's like, no, maybe I can get one too, and then we could share.
Very good.
Like, you thinking. I didn't even get that for myself. The friend that I told you I rekindle things with,
Mhm.
she came over. I want to say it was Sunday. She came over to take my daughter to Target. She called and told her she wanted to go to Target, and she really drove over an hour to get here to bring her to Target. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, yeah, well, you can come if you want to, but this is like, like our day. I'm like, okay. And we got there. She grabbed a planner for something else, and we saw those books, and she was like, yeah, I think we should get them. I think this will work, like, for both of us or whatever. I'm like, okay, whatever. I didn't even look inside the book when I was there until I got home. I'm like, oh, this is really good.
Cool, cool. I know, it might get you to explore certain pieces of you that you weren't even aware of.
Yeah, some of them, I'm like, oh my God. Like, but it's good though. It's good.
Good. So, I mean, you have the resources. At some point in time, you'll use them. Don't worry
Yes.
about it.
Right.
But okay, I'm happy to hear that you are putting things into action. You're seeing a difference in you. Other people are noticing a difference in you. That's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the friend I told you that has the son,
Hmm.
she was even saying, she was like, you've been a lot more calm. Like, I haven't heard you go off in a minute. I'm just like, for what? It's pointless. She like, oh my god, I love it. I need that. Like I need it.
You tell her, listen to this.
Yeah, now I'm going to. I'm like, girl, give it a listen. It's so many things that like you said to me, and I like pass them on to her, and she like, that's good. That's good. I like that. I'm like, yep, girl, it works. It works.
Definitely, definitely. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're getting use out of this, and so are other people.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we only have a couple of minutes left. I'm not going to push, push, push.
Oh God, push. That sounds bad.
No, it's more likely what I do with teenagers, and I'm trying to like get them to get into the session.
Hmm.
But no, I'm
So I
okay with.
think probably for next session, I'm thinking of discussing the relationship, the one that my mom kept bringing up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I am writing that down.
So I can just be done with it.
We absolutely
So
can.
I don't want to still be triggered by it.
No, and I want to help you get that sense of peace and freedom from it as well. So I wrote it
Yes.
down, and we will come back to it next time.
Okay.
All right. Well, you take care.
All right. You too. Thanks.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye. You too, girl.
Thank you for having tuned in to another episode of What Would Helen Say, where therapy time is anytime. Hopefully, you'll come back next week where we really dive in to this extremely toxic and abusive relationship my client was in pretty much throughout all of her high school experience. We'll get to know some very traumatic details of her life. So, if you think this might be a trigger for you, then I want you to be prepared ahead of time to take breaks as needed as you listen throughout next week's show and to take care of you. If you like the work that I'm doing and you would like to support me, or if you're interested in gaining premium access to upcoming shows and detailed notes, then please click on the Patreon link below for more information. Thank you.